And that was one card that caught my eye. And I asked him about it, and he pointed out that Phantasmal Image was a very powerful card against Reanimator decks, very powerful card in any sort of mirror match, so you can kill an opposing Progenitus, or just copy any sort of big creature and just go to town.
Sure, copy something sweet. If you copy their Confidant and hope you don't hit Progenitus, all these small things. And he has the one Fauna Shaman, which can find the one Phantasmal Image, which is nice. His opponent, Jeff Sirkis, playing Merfolk, and not a lot you can do with Merfolk, and his list looks super.
He has Phantasmal Image as well.
He does have 2 Phantasmal Image, which is the one weird thing.
Phantasmal Image is one of the cards out of M12 that probably made the most sort of surprising splash of anything in the format, or of anything in the set. It's certainly wasn't a card people expected to show up in Legacy, I don't think. And it's been a major player in Standard as a card that can copy a Squadron Hawk when your opponent has a Squadron Hawk, can copy an Emiri Angel when your opponent has an Emiri Angel, copy a Titan. Most impressively, can come back from the graveyard with Sun Titan and copy that Sun Titan and keep bringing more things back.
It's I love the card because it's not only a cool card, but it's also just fun to play with, which is awesome. You can copy your opponent's stuff, that's always good times. In the meantime, game is off and underway. Jeff has a turn 1 Vial, as a Merfolk player is wont to do. And a turn 2 Vial.
AJ with just a fetch land so far. Looks like Jeff does not have a second land.
Going to rely on those vials.
With 2 vials, he
who needs lands?
is not really much in need of land. So AJ on his second turn.
And plays Windswept Heath, cracks both of his fetch lands, and see either probably Dark Confidant or a Tarmogoyf.
Dark Confidant.
Or sorry. Tarmogoyf or Greenstone Zenith, or just Tarmogoyf, I'd imagine.
He could Tarmogoyf. He could just have the natural Pride Mage here, or Fauna Shaman. Getting Tundra and Tropical.
Okay, so has both his colors.
So Tarmogoyf comes down, passes the turn back to Jeff. Tarmogoyf not quite as good at defending against Merfolk as it is at defending against when you have Island to play against other decks. So in say a Junk deck, Tarmogoyf is often like a brick wall for a Merfolk player because it's so difficult for their creatures to get by it. But when there are islands in the battlefield, Lord of Atlantis makes it very, very difficult for Tarmogoyf to do much blocking.
All right, and so Jeff Sirkis vials in Coralhelm Commander and Curse Catcher, levels up the Commander twice, playing his second land. Drops down his Misty Rainforest. That's what AJ's play looks like. Yep, Misty Rainforest for AJ. I see in his hand he's got a Natural Order. Swords to Plowshares, maybe a Brainstorm.
There's certainly a Natural Order. It looks like he has another fetch land.
Yep. So we can Natural Order next turn potentially.
It's kind of dangerous to Natural Order into a daze.
I mean, would not recommend it. Or Curse Catcher, for example. The 2 Curse Catchers on the battlefield. But he could if he wanted to.
Chose.
If he was psychotic.
So Jeff Sirkis with the vials on 2 and 3, or is that still 1 and 2?
There's Supergirl Adept.
Adept draws him a card.
And yeah, Merfolk is pretty much just your basic tempo-based deck here in Legacy. You play some vials, you have a little bit of counter magic, and your lands don't matter as much because if you have a vial in play, everything you do is free. You can feel free to daze or whatever you want to do and not worry about your mana too much. Vial is really the key card of the deck.
So Sirkis attempting to level up that Coralhelm Commander to max, I believe, and AJ debating Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, it looks like AJ goes for the Swords. We'll see if Sirkis has the mental misstep. He's vialing in
for Marrow Reejery, so he gains an extra life. All right.
All right.
+1 life.
And Regery, a very dangerous card in that it can get all of those creatures past Tarmogoyf.
Although he does require him actually casting Merfolk for that to work.
Right, that's true. Are these just coming in? Is there... I guess there's not that many cards in the graveyards here.
There's a Coral Helm Commander.
There's an instant, and... No, that got passed.
Oh, sorry, so it just got passed. So it's just instant land? It's a 2/3?
I don't know.
And Tarmogoyf just blocks.
He just ate one.
He just ate a Curse Catcher. Just threw away a Curse Catcher.
That's interesting.
AJ looked like, am I missing something?
Like, something happening
Very
here?
hesitant. But, I mean, Jeff is tapped out of lands and Aphid Vials, so nothing to worry about.
No tricks possible.
No mutagenic growths.
If he did have mutagenic growth, that would have been sick.
AJ would not be happy.
Or if he vialed in, say, a Springjack Shepherd.
Sure.
She doesn't have many blue or white mana symbols.
Yeah, we gotta play the blue chroma cards to make that work. We gotta sanity grind them. So it looks like AJ is gonna tap 2 for another Tarmogoyf. So he's got double Goyf here. Now, a nice little wall for now. The issue is if Jeff draws Lord of Atlantis, it's gonna put AJ in a bind unless he has a removal spell. Yeah, I'm still confused as to why Jeff just threw away his Curse Catcher last turn. And Jeff plays the land, and looks like he's just going to ship back to AJ.
So double Goyf for AJ, holding off a whole slew of Merfolk. There is no Lord of Atlantis to make them walk through those islands.
Yet. There's the grinder himself. Wearing his trademark crazy sweatshirt. I don't even know what's going on there, but he wears it all the time.
He actually got that in Japan. We were actually out shopping in, what was it, Harajuku?
That's the fashion district.
Fashion district of Japan, and Harajuku, yeah, I think is what it is. And AJ was looking for a crazy hat as well, but couldn't find a hat.
Couldn't find the hat to match the crazy shirt. Goes for the brainstorm. It looks comfortable. I don't know.
It looks crazy.
It is also crazy. Reminds me of like the sweatshirt that Saito always wore. I mean, not in design, obviously, but just that, you know, always wore the same
very
thing.
Distinctive,
like,
very
comfortable.
very distinctive clothing.
Yeah. Of course, sporting the new haircut he got a couple months back.
Yeah.
Changing things up. So AJ's board, 2 Tarmogoyfs versus Jeff, who's got a couple of Vials and Silvergill Adept, Marrow Regery, and 1 Curse Catcher. The other Curse Catcher is in the graveyard above the exiled Coral Helm Commander.
And AJ taking his time, fetching twice.
So, what do you think we're going to see? A third Goy?
Well, he's sacking for 2 tropicals? Is that what's happening here?
Yep, 2 tropicals.
So he's leaving us with only 1 Tundra.
Tropical Paradise.
Seems like you'd want Tropical Tundra there. No.
Well, he still has another Misty Rainforest just in case.
Well, you want that Misty to be able to get Dryad Arbor, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, you just want to... No, you don't need 3 tropical islands, you know?
Right. There's not... okay.
Oh, so Savannah.
Sure.
Okay.
So he has...
That makes sense, too.
Yeah.
So, the No Bant deck. All about the NO stats for Natural Order.
Click.
Medallion
Targeting.
Targeting himself. Progenitus on the bottom of my library.
Let's get rid of this guy.
Don't need that one.
This is not where he should be.
Drew Windswept Heath, I believe. And AJ just passes the turn. Now let's see what Jeff's got going on. He gets 2 Vials, some Merfolk, but Merfolk aren't attacking unless there's a Lord of Atlantis. But 1 Lord would really swing this game.
Lord of Atlantis is... Although, I mean, to be fair, at this point in the game, even a Lord of Atlantis would... Well, actually, Lord of Atlantis would boost those creatures to big enough that they'd get quite a bit of damage in. I mean, the Goyfs and the Click actually hit pretty hard themselves.
I mean, and there's already a Regery in play, so that there, you know, all the Merfolk would be +2/+2, and then except for the Regery and the Lord would be +1/+1. Probably killing 2 hits. AJ cracks the land, goes to get a Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor, such a weird little card, and all kinds of cool tricks you play with fetch lands.
Yeah.
And
Between fetch lands and Green Sun Zenith, it looks like we have natural order.
Natural order. And it resolves. So Progenitus comes down.
So what does he have protection from?
Everything. The sleeve he's in, gravity.
Does he have protection from those Aether Vials? Yes. They are part of everything. That's actually, there's such a cool card. Text protection from everything.
Yeah, they actually said in an article that they had that card text around for a long time. They were just waiting for the right card to put it on because they knew it was so awesome. And Progenitus, I think, is worthy of that text.
Matt Mansour, Joe Bass, Chris Highland, Zachary.
So we got a question on Twitter about the significance of Aether Vial and Merfolk. Merfolk is a deck that wants to be able to deploy threats without using much of its mana. It's able to play out a lot of relatively speaking, expensive threats at 2 and 3 mana without actually tapping its own mana during its turn. So it's able to use its mana for things like leveling up Core Helm Commander without actually spending much mana. It can activate man lands, things like that. So Vial lets you play a lot of creatures without actually ever having to tap your lands, and that's it. That's that game. Progenitus was enough to seal the deal, as it often is. So looking at the sideboards here, AJ has a couple of paths. He has Jace. He has another Phantasmal Image.
Thrun, I guess. One Spell Stutter Spray.
Interesting.
I think you get Fauna Shaman. You Fauna Shaman for it against Hive Mind.
Hive Mind. That makes sense.
And a Scavenging Ooze, one of those commander cards making a stand here. Scavenging Ooze lets you exile cards from graveyards.
So it's a creature you can Green Sun Zenith for against Reanimator that can lock their discard pile. The Merfolk deck here, Jeff Sirkis, he has Sower of Temptation in his sideboard. He has Lawan, which probably won't come in. Dismember, which very well may. He has a Jite and a Relic of Progenitus, which can potentially shrink those Tarmogoyfs, but probably won't see play. Spell Pierce, very very reasonable possible inclusion. He has Spreading Seas in his sideboard. Interesting.
Spreading Seas, interesting indeed. What would you Spreading Seas in Legacy? What do you really want to hit?
I'm not really sure.
I mean, like Volra, you could hit like Mutavault, Volra,
against like a lands deck. You could Spreading Seas like a
Tabernacle or whatever.
Well, Tabernacle or a Maze, and they can't. Unlike Wasteland, they can't just loam it back.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
Huh.
Also, maybe you're playing as a deck that you really need to land walk them. So AJ, I think, is going to want to bring in his paths. The way that the Merfolk deck can beat the Natural Order Bant deck is largely through assembling a number of lords, especially Lord of Atlantis, that can get their smaller creatures past Tarmogoyf and friends. So Path to Exile is a card that is particularly potent in the matchup because it's a very cheap removal spell that the Merfolk deck can't really take too much advantage of because it doesn't have all that much use for excess lands.
AJ has played decks like this for a long time. Even before no Bant was really on the radar of a lot of people. He played it in, maybe it was Memphis, starts the game with Memphis, and lost in the finals, I believe. And he kind of, did some pioneering things with the archetype. He had like a couple of cards that aren't here anymore. Scrib Ranger, for example.
Scrib Ranger was a card that, I remember he was playing as an interesting card with Fauna Shaman or against Merfolk even, as a pro blue creature.
He doesn't have Submerge anymore, which was a big card that he used to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised he doesn't have it now, because that card is absolutely phenomenal. In general. Maybe not for the metagame he's predicting, though.
Right.
If you don't think there's going to be a lot of creature decks, you don't really want Submerge.
He has no copies of Lawan here. Lawan is a card that used to be a Stone Code killer against Merfolk.
Especially with your one Fauna Shaman, too.
Right. It's I think, a lot worse now, though, because the Merfolk decks have access to Dismember, which gives them a way to kill a Lawan. Jeff will almost certainly bring in his Dismembers here just in case AJ has Lawan, but it also is a way that he can remove Tarmogoyf. It's interesting to see the impact of Dismember has gone far beyond Standard. And while it may leave Standard at some point, it will be around Legacy forever.
The mistake of Dismember, I would say.
I would be in agreement with that.
That card, man. There've been not a lot. There've been a couple problematic cards in Standard. Stoneforge Mystics and the Jace, and cards like that are very frustrating to play against. But really, I don't think any card has upset me so much as Dismember, just in how it plays under the format.
I think that Dismember is a card that made it very difficult to play interesting creatures.
Yep.
That I've said that Dismember encourages people to play Goblin Guides and Titans, and that's it. Because you have to either be punishing them for the life loss or playing creatures that don't care about it because they're way too big.
We were talking about this yesterday, how you had your blue-black Infect deck. It's completely unplayable after Dismember came
that
out.
was one of the most frustrating things, was that Infect was a strategy that was fun. Like playing that deck was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of cool ways that Infect was very different than just about any other deck. And it was sort of on the borderline of being a very good deck in Standard, and it was able to succeed at some level, but with the introduction of Dismember, it's just gone. You just cannot play that deck anymore, because all of your good matchups, you don't have your pro red, pro white guy, doesn't matter, they just kill it. Your gigantic monster against red decks, doesn't matter, they just kill it. And they're doing it at effectively no cost. They just get the best removal spell ever, against your deck which isn't even attacking their life total. So it was particularly frustrating to me in that sense, and because I think that utility creature decks are particularly fun too. Decks with cards like Fauna Shaman,
right.
the Vidalcan Surtark deck that I played in Singapore. These are cool cards and cool strategies that are very much oppressed by the mere existence of Dismember.
Yeah, and it has more than just pure gameplay ramifications. It also just impacts deck building significantly, makes deck building far less interesting. I built a bunch of Standard decks, and almost all of them start with 2 or 3 Dismember. Mm-hmm. There's no reason not to play it in most of your decks.
I think one reason that Red is actually so popular and so successful in Standard is because of Dismember. Not only that they're able to play Dismember themselves to deal with things like Core Firewalk, which would otherwise be problems, but because so many people do use Dismember as one of their removal spells, that red decks can punish them. They're the Goblin Guide half of the Goblin Guides and Titans.
Right. It's the fact that it's also just a card that'll impact Magic forever. Like you said, back in Legacy and Modern, there will always be this any color can play this -5/-5 effect.
Yeah.
Jace and Stoneforge are overpowered for sure, but nothing seems so egregious.
It's not so warping.
Yeah, not so warping. They certainly did their fair job of warping the format. Let's not make no mistakes, but. Oh well. The card exists, and that's that. So deal with it.
And we will see it in potentially in this game, as I'm fairly certain that Jeff Sirkis will have sideboarded in his Dismembers.
Seems like a card you want here. Phyrexian Mana is also just a mechanic I think is bad.
I think that the application of Phyrexian Mana on cards like Metamorph is pretty interesting. I think Phyrexian Mana on Birthing Pod is interesting. I think Phyrexian Mana on Mental Misstep and Dismember is frustrating because when you have cool effects that are sort of sprinkled out with the color bleed from Phyrexian Mana, that's fine. But when you have staple fundamental effects like Counter Magic and Creature Kill that are dispersed everywhere through the Payment of Life, that I think is a problem. So it looks like Jeff Sirkis kept his hand and AJ mulliganed and then kept. The players are off. So Island into Curse Catcher.
All right. Looks like AJ's got a force, several lands. Can't tell quite what else.
So he plays Windswept Heath, fetching. We will see. Dun dun dun.
Alright, just gets a basic forest. Doesn't want to get wastelanded. A basic forest for Green Sun Zenith, which will get Dryad Arbor, presuming it resolves. And yep, Zenith goes back in. And grabs Dryad Arbor. Such a versatile card, because not only is it Linen War Elf, essentially, but it also can be, Tarmogoyf, or we've seen in Modern, Neither Reliquary. even Malira, you know, puts together your combo. All kinds of cool things you can do.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely it's interesting that Jeff chose not to Curse Catcher that. I would have expected.
I would have expected him to Curse Catcher.
I mean,
that
what is he saving his Curse Catcher for? Curse Catcher gets progressively worse as a counter magic effect as the game progresses because of players increasing their mana count, and this is exactly what this card is doing for AJ, is accelerating his mana.
Yeah, I'm very surprised why he didn't use that Curse Catcher. It almost looked like AJ expected him to, but. So Jeff attacks with his Curse Catcher, AJ blocks with his Dryad Arbor. So I guess that was a trade AJ was willing to make. He traded the Arbor for the Curse Catcher, indicating to me that he was fine with that.
Interesting. It's interesting that I felt like Jeff probably would have wanted to counter that, and then AJ actually just used it to basically do the same thing, get his guy traded.
All right, Jeff Sirkis plays Silvergill Adept and then passes it back to AJ. AJ has Tundra and Tarmogoyf. So he's got all 3 colors now, and he's got a Goyf to boot. And so we have land and creature in the graveyard. So Creature Zenith got shuffled back in, make no mistake.
Tarmogoyf holding off the Merfolk as per usual. Is that a phantasmal image? Ooh, we make ourselves a Tarmogoyf and then kill your Tarmogoyf.
Yes. Oh, yes. The mono blue has the ability to kill creatures,
as we were just discussing. Of course, my mono blue deck can kill your Tarmogoyf for 1 mana. Why not?
Who doesn't like losing a little bit of life? And here comes Tropical Islands. Zenith for 2. Let's see what happens here.
We're getting dazed.
Nope, resolves.
Nope, so here comes another Goyf.
Yep, here comes I would guess it would be Tarmogoyf, unless he wants to go for some Fauna Shaman for some reason.
I would be so tempted to play Knight of the Reliquary in this deck if I were playing in Legacy. To be fair, I'd be tempted to play 4 Knight of the Reliquary in the deck, but
yeah,
I'm
I think
a crazy man.
Your deck probably look more like a New Horizons kind of thing with the Knights and.
Yep, Goyf comes back.
Here comes Tarmogoyf. Shuffles back into Zenith. Does not get to stick around in the graveyard for Tarmogoyf.
Unless it's countered.
Unless it's countered, or unless there's a game rule violation and it's left in the graveyard. So Tarmogoyf is a 3/4 creature, instant, and land. Dryad Arbor, creature, land. Home Commander, also creature. Dismember, instant. Here comes Island from Jeff Sirkis. So he's 4 lands now. Quite a few for his Merfolk deck. And there's Mira Regery. Passes back to AJ Sacher. Draws another Force of Will.
So Regery makes it so that Goyf is a much worse defender. And it looks like AJ just has.
He has 2 forces.
Force of Will and land in hand.
2 forces. I thought he had another spell, but maybe not. Definitely 2 forces though.
So
there's
another land for Jeff. And
Home Commander.
Commander tapping the Tarmogoyf. Looks like we're probably going to get a Force of Will for that.
Forces Coral Home Commander.
But AJ's going to take quite a bit of abuse here from the Regery and company.
Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So AJ points out that there's not, in fact, a sorcery in the yard, I believe. So AJ down to 8 life.
All right, and then
so untap draw. We see is that another Goyf?
A land there. I mean, he can hold back Tarmogoyf and hope he doesn't have hold back Tarmogoyf. Hope we don't have another Merfolk to tap my guy.
There's a lot of merfolk in that deck.
Yeah, think about merfolk decks. They play a lot of merfolk.
Pretty dangerous plan. Precarious situation.
Troll Home Commander, tap your Tarmogoyf, attack you,
And we're gonna go get a Dryad Arbor, number 2.
Time to block.
Not the best of situations, but you know.
Yeah, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I guess we're gonna do some.
So I don't really know what sort of outs AJ has at this point. He's facing quite the army.
I mean, and yeah, Troll Home Commander even flies too.
Right, and he's gonna pump up the rest of the team. So I think AJ is pretty much drawing dead.
Yeah. His only out would be Luan if he had it, but he doesn't have it in his deck.
Right, there's no Luans. And
all right,
AJ packs it up, and we're going to Game 3. So Jeff Sirkis evens the match, 1-1.
Yeah.
AJ Sacher going back to his sideboard.
Still giggling, happy despite the loss.
I don't know that AJ's ever really happy.
He's not happy, but you know, he didn't throw his deck at his opponent or anything.
2 o'clock, two-headed giant seal event.
AJ is, I'm sure, in the tank trying to figure out if there's anything he can do with the sideboard to, like you said earlier, potentially switch around. You know, do I want certain things on the play or the draw? And it really does change the matchup. How important do you feel Force of Will is in this matchup?
Well, I mean, AJ really wants to keep something like Lord of Atlantis from hitting play, or be able to protect his removal on it. So I think that you really want that effect. That said, it's you know you're not really all that able to just trade 2 for 1 against Merfolk. Merfolk has a lower land count than you do, and has card drawing effects with Silver Guild Adept. So if you're spending your card's Force of Willing, you're in some serious trouble. You need to. So what you need to do, I think, in general, is actually just resolve a natural order. I could be totally wrong. I could be misevaluating this, and maybe even separate out natural order, just because you aren't even guaranteed to win if you get a Progenitus, because your opponent can island walk right past.
And now you only have Phantasmal Image too, which does change things. Makes it look a lot less attractive.
Yeah, knowing that your opponent has Phantasmal Image makes Progenitus pretty unappealing.
I mean, Force can also be useful for countering Aether Vial, which is certainly a big one.
That's true.
I mean, you could say maybe you sideboard out some forces, but the thing about forces, if you want to counter Vial, you want it in your opening hand, plus the more forces you sideboard out, the worse they get, because the less blue cards you have. So, in the past, it was really important that you were able to force Aether Vial. With Mental Misstep, you have more options.
Yes.
Also, can I have Jay Hollingworth and Zachary Hedden to the draft?
Yeah, I don't know what other cards I would be changing. I think AJ is probably taking out the Natural Order package just because of the Phantasmal Image.
Yeah, it seems like that's probably a reasonable play.
It's a lot of work to go through just to get imaged or something like that. And instead, you might see a couple other things happening here. Just maybe a couple random dudes. Maybe he wants.
I mean, given that AJ's on the play, he wants to be able to be aggressive. I think he needs to pressure. He needs to pressure Jeff. He can't really play much of a control game because, Merfolk Regery, Lord of Atlantis and just the fact that Jeff is playing a deck with less land and just more threat density. AJ needs to be able to pressure him with his creatures so that he can't play the long game and eventually break through.
All right. AJ looking over his hand, thinking about it. I'm kind of curious what it is. He's been thinking about it for a little while now. Let's see, Tundra. All right, AJ finally decides to keep. Jeff Sirkis preordains and mulligans.
So the peak, the dreaded peak.
What's your stance on peaking?
I never do it. I think that whenever you look at the top card of your deck, you're not. I mean, you're often psychologically setting yourself up to be like, well, last time I would have gotten there. What are you learning? Like your decision is either correct on its own merits or not, and whether or not you would have drawn the card that you wanted to draw or whatever. That particular instance doesn't mean anything for future instances of that decision.
Right. It could have easily been a spell,
Right. So if you're just like, well, all I need to do is draw a land. If you look at the top card of your deck, it's like, oh, it was a land. The next time you're making the mulligan decision, you could very well, be like, well, last time there's a land on top, so, maybe this time I'll keep this hand, and then, you don't get there, and you're like, oh, well, just got crushed.
All right, well, the game is underway. Jeff leads with the turn 1 Curse Catcher to match AJ's Bayou.
Bayou? I don't think it's a Bayou.
Or not Bayou, Tundra probably. So used to AJ playing Dark Confidant. Okay, because Wally Pride Mage comes down for AJ. I watched AJ. I did a lot of SCG Live coverage while AJ was at the height of his playing his bug deck over and over, and so I got quite used to the Dark Confidant play from him. No Dark Confidants in his no bant deck. There might not even be any no's in his no bant deck anymore.
He comes down with Wily Pride Mage, which is interesting because that was actually one of the cards we were just talking about. Him wanting to be a bit more aggressive while he's on the play.
Right. Also, it deals with Aether Vial, which is reasonable. Jeff Sirkis has Silvergill Adept, so the board is Curse Catcher Adept versus Quasali Pride Mage. Jeff also played a Mutavault for his land, so he's got a little bit of ammo there too. I think AJ has a Mental Misstep in his hands.
Looks like it.
And swords. Maybe a Brainstorm also. Now,
passes the turn.
AJ passes. Now, AJ's quite the disciple of his Brainstorms. He did a very intensive video on when to cast Brainstorm, when not to cast Brainstorm, and also wrote an article on the topic. So, be interesting to see how he brainstorms in general. When does he choose to fire off a Brainstorm? Jeff serves with his Silvergill Adept. AJ deciding what he wants to do, if he wants to block, and he chooses to block. Just playing the control game here. Trade off with your guy, and then maybe eventually win big with Tarmogoyf.
I mean, the trading here against Silvergill Adept is he's falling behind card-wise pretty badly. He's already on the play, and his opponent is now drawing his second extra card.
Yep, he's playing cast another Adept.
It's very difficult to win this sort of game against Merfolk, which is just what we were talking about last game. You have to outclass what they're doing.
There's a Brainstorm from AJ, so he does choose to go for it here. He has Misty Rainforest in play, and AJ's big advice is cast Brainstorm when you know what you need, and not just, when you've got cards to put back. So it sounds like he has cards to put back, and he knows what he needs. So he's willing to go for it here. I imagine we'll see him put cards back and then shuffle with that Misty Rainforest. I mean, can't quite make out what he's putting back. Maybe a land.
The fact that Jeff is revealing Lord of Atlantis here is pretty rough for AJ. Even if he does manage to get a Tarmogoyf down, he's going to be facing island walking creatures coming at him pretty quickly.
Pretty sure AJ has swords in his hand.
He does, but he can't be sure that sword is going to resolve.
Right. And he also has a force. I think he just has to protect that sword. That's part of his game plan.
Yeah, he needs to get a Tarmogoyf down and keep that Lord of Atlantis off the board.
Yep.
There's actually 2 Mutavaults on the.
Oh, this is still in response to Silvergill Adept.
So he's forcibly playing Silvergill Adept.
Okay, so he brainstormed. Sorry, I thought this was in his end step. So he brainstormed in response to Silvergill Adept, ended up forcing it. And now AJ has to decide if he wants to crack a special land or not. Does he want the card on top of his library or no?
Force of Will of Silvergill Adept. That's interesting. Knowing that his opponent has Lord of Atlantis, no less.
It's true. Although, yeah, I mean, Jeff even has 2 Mutavaults, so that Lord of Atlantis cannot stick around. Those would be 3/3 Mutavaults crashing in with it if the Lord is in play.
Yeah, I don't think this matchup seems particularly good for AJ. He doesn't have access to a lot of ways to really put the game away, like say like a Stoneforge deck has, or like the Grim Lavamancers from like the rug version of Natural Order deck.
Right, and he can't even really rely on Natural Order because of Fantastical Images. Tim Scousey points out on Twitter he thinks this matchup is pretty bad for no ban. Most of the cards that are good against Jeff just are in the other versions of the no deck, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And AJ's plan is like play some Tarmogoyf to attack you, I guess. He managed to steal the first game with the Natural Order.
He does draw a Tarmogoyf, but he passes the turn back.
Interesting. Let's see. Here comes Lord of Atlantis. Lord, the activate the Mutavault, serves in for a total of 3, 4, 5 points. I imagine AJ's going to go for path.
AJ's going to have to path, and then he can search up a Dryad Arbor to block the Curse Catcher if he wants.
So AJ didn't cast Tarmogoyf because he probably wanted to pay for Curse Catcher plus days.
Which is reasonable.
And I think if you're AJ, you just have to go for it here.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get that Lord out of the way.
I mean, you can't get misstepped, but I don't know if you're going to win if you don't deal with that Lord right away.
Yeah.
All right, yep, Swords of the Lord.
So, Lord goes farming.
And Jeff gains 2 life. Goes up to 22. And then, I think finding Dryad Arbor to trade with Curse Catcher is the right play here.
Yeah, I think you're not getting that much value from the fetched land. You get a Merfolk off the board, which makes any future.
AJ just takes it.
Decides not to.
And passes back to AJ. Draws a Force of Will.
Force of Will, which he has Vendilion Click, Force of Will, and Tarmogoyf in hand now. I mean, I think you really need to just get the Goyf into play and start defending yourself. You're facing down a pair of Mutavaults and a Curse Catcher. Mutavault's another one of those cards that gives the fish deck a much better sort of ability to play an attrition game than a deck like the one that AJ is playing. You have fewer land than most decks you're playing against, and 4 of them are creatures.
I definitely agree there.
AJ doesn't even have Wasteland to be able to deal with those without actually using real spells.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, if you're just using Aether to put all your cards out, you can feel free to use those all the time. All right, so looks like Jeff goes for, is that Vial?
I think it's Vial. It's paying 1 colorless for it. So
that Dismember.
Oh, Dismember, okay.
I was going to say, why would AJ be forcing a Vial here?
So he forces the Dismember, which
puts him out of cards. So he just got a line of defense. Now he needs to find some more lines of defense.
I mean, he needs to find a way to win. Like,
yeah, yes,
that's really the biggest problem is that it's just very difficult for the Natural Order Bant deck to win.
3rd Mutavault for Jeff. Yeah, I mean, AJ just basically has to. There's a Phantasmal Image copying Tarmogoyf. AJ draws. Gonna go ahead and make it out. And then ships. Thought it might have been a Zenith, but I really only caught a glimpse of it for a second. Plays his 4th Mutavault. He's got all of them now. Full play set.
That's quite a few Mutavaults.
Oh, second Tarmogoyf.
Another Tarmogoyf. All right. Well, that's going to help hold the fort for a little while at least.
I was going to say, if you were a Jeff there, would you have activated all 3 Mutavaults and served with everything?
I don't think so. You end up trading.
You trade a Mutavault for like 9 points of damage.
Maybe.
Now it's not nearly as profitable.
Now you certainly can't.
But
Aether Vial.
A little late to the party.
But I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about toward the end of game 2. I mean, AJ is in a situation here where like he's just playing defense. He has no offense. He really has very little that can really break this stalemate in his favor.
Like Vendilion Click would be okay, I suppose.
He did just remove a click to Force of Will. Vendilion Click could put some pressure on Jeff, but I mean any Lord of Atlantis, any Merfolk Regery, any of these cards is going to put AJ in a really bad spot. A Coralhelm Commander, there's just so many more breakers in Jeff's deck than there are in AJ's. Looks like Merfolk Regery is having 3 mana, so
that is not what AJ wants to see. And Regery pass. Looks like, yep, Regery pass. AJ pathing it in the end step. Misstep for Jeff Sirkis.
Looks like AJ just has land. Oh, no, he has a misstep of his own.
All right, so looks like path happens on the Reedry. We'll get an island.
So that's actually an interesting question here. Jeff didn't have any real use for that Regery at that point.
He just held it.
It's possible that he actually just wanted to hold Regery to be able to play Regery and then play Merfolk. If he, because a lot of the Merfolk he could deploy right now aren't going to get through Tarmogoyf anyway, and he could just save them for basically just twiddle effects on the Tarmogoyfs there.
That's what AJ needed. And he said he needed to draw a lot of Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah, he's on monogoyf control here, and he can't even. The problem is he really can't attack with Tarmogoyf even. His opponent has a copy of Tarmogoyf.
So the thing about the saving the Regery is you can't activate your Mutavaults that turn then because you're really strained for a mana.
Right, but he has a Vial in play as well.
But that doesn't trigger your Regery.
But you can play the Regery off the Vial, then play your Merfolk.
I can see that.
And then get in for a whole bunch of damage with. I mean, even 2 Mutavaults in those creatures attacking is a ton of damage.
Sure. Or even wait till you have like more counter magic or something like that. I still really like the attack with 3 Mutavaults on that turn. I think this game would be pretty different if he had done that. But
yeah, that may have been another Regery.
Another Regery. Well, I guess he's not on this plan then.
All right, and we are back in Drago. AJ with 3 land in hand.
Yep. And that fetch land can find a Dryad Arbor, so he has a little bit of utility there.
Plays out another fetch. And that is a breaker card if there is one. Coral Helm Commander can become a 4/4 flyer very easily, make the rest of his team into very, very large creatures. There are only 3 Tarmogoyfs defending AJ, so...
Yeah, someone on Twitter said, man, would a Coral Helm Commander help here just as he cast Coral Helm Commander.
You are correct. A Coral Helm Commander would help here.
AJ has to find another removal spell, and fast. Level, and the tricky little Merfolk.
That may not be a level 50 Archmage, but it is a level 4 Coral Helm Commander, and that is pretty threatening.
Played in a couple tournaments, and AJ is going to be dropped down to 10 life. Druid Path, I think.
That's a good one.
That's what you want here. End step, Violin, Silvergill Adept. Okay. I might have killed the commander in response to drawing the card off the Adept.
I think I would as well.
Because you don't want him to draw a force or something.
Right.
Now, granted, maybe he's going to make a really bad attack. You think you can trick him into making a bad attack, but I think I just want that commander gone.
I mean, AJ's life is so low that he may need Jeff to commit to an attack that relies on Coral Helm Commander to be lethal in order for him to have a chance of winning this game.
Sure.
He's really far behind. Sometimes the play that gives you the best sort of marginal value isn't the play that gives you the best chance to win.
Sure. Oh, definitely. Sometimes you have to make the high risk, high reward play.
Right.
Four islands, 4 Mutavaults. Jeff Sirkis' mana base right now. Board is a leveled up commander, a Curse Catcher, Phantasmal Image copying Tarmogoyf, Mirror Regery, Silvergill Adept versus AJ's Trifecta of Tarmogoyfs.
We have 4.
Activate all the Mutavaults.
That's a lot of Mutavaults.
All the Mutavaults.
And the whole team is not coming in, or is it? I would imagine. I mean, if you're sending everything, you're sending everything here.
All right,
you're not attacking. Okay, no Regery coming in.
All right, well,
interesting.
I'd have just started with everything. Like, your other guy's gonna get blocked first, right? I guess I don't know how big Tarmogoyf is. You don't accidentally die on the backswing, but
I mean, Tarmogoyf is not.
But it's not a 6.
It's not a
right?
6 power.
Yeah.
I mean, if you attack with everything and he blocks Regery and 2, I mean, I actually think you really do need to attack with everything.
Yeah,
given the life
do.
totals.
You definitely do. All right, well, AJ's gonna path that. And he's gonna use Dryad Arbor to find fetch land to find a Dryad Arbor. Block 4 cards. That resolves. And he'll go get an island. Wow.
So he gets to fetch And these guys are down to all down to 3 power now. Or these the Mutavaults and the
I think
Silverguard. I think if you attack with everything, it's lethal.
I think it's. I'm pretty sure. I was just counting it up. If you attack with everything, it's lethal. If you just attack like this, then AJ can get Dryad Arbor.
AJ can get 2 Dryad Arbors. He still has 2 in his deck, I believe. Unless did the first one trade this game?
Did you trade with the Curse Catcher early on? Or maybe that was last game.
Yeah, they all run together sometimes.
Yeah. It looks like he's going to get 2 Dryad Arbors. But even if he could get 2 Dryad Arbors, it's still lethal, I'm pretty sure.
If he'd attacked the other ways, or this way?
If he attacked with everything,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's still lethal with 2 Dryad Arbors. AJ doing the math in his head, too, just as we were trying to do.
Trying to figure out how he can win. So he's currently being attacked by, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creatures. And he needs to block. Yeah, if those other creatures had just been attacking, I think there's no block.
Right, especially when you consider 2 life is lost for cracking both fetch lands. So yeah, AJ would go to 7, and he could only block 5 things. He'd block the Reejerey, or maybe not the Reejerey, block the 4 Mutavaults and the Tarmogoyf, and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And yeah, it would have been lethal.
So there's 4 blocks here.
But this is definitely not lethal.
Yeah.
So 4 blocks. And what do you think you block? 3 Mutavaults in the Tarmogoyf? Or no, sorry, Silverguard Adapts. Phantasmal Image.
Looks like he's going for another one. So,
All right.
I don't understand holding back Curse Catcher in particular. Like, it's not like Curse Catcher is doing much.
Yeah. I mean, if you block Reejerey, I don't know. I think if Jeff just serves with everything, he's lethal. So I don't know why you wouldn't. Unless you think AJ has like multiple removal spells, but even then you still just have to attack with everything because he's going to kill both your guys. And
I mean, it feels like when you're attacking like this into the triple Tarmogoyf, you're either winning or not.
Right.
And
agreed.
So is this actually, so this actually puts AJ to 1 anyway. So there's 3 blocks on the Mutavaults, and then there's 1 block on a Mutavault or Tarmogoyf. They're the same, I think. Or that. Okay. They're all 3 power. Oh, he's trying to kill that. So he's going to 1 and killing 4 things.
All right, that's AJ's blocking. All right, so a bunch of stuff dies.
So AJ down to 1 life. Jeff loses a lot of stuff.
AJ doesn't have anything going on right now. He
draws
a land. Now he's looking for.
But I mean, Jeff was afraid to attack with everything last turn when it was, I thought it was pretty clear that the game would end if he did. And will Jeff be willing to commit this turn to sending in his guys to a much less certain situation?
No, yeah, that's very, very true. It's possible Jeff just didn't do the math last time,
right?
Or was just positive AJ didn't have the removal spell or something, but.
Legacy open players, that is time in round 3.
All right, that's time.
Time was actually just called.
So 5 turns. Have all of our matches gone to time so far? They all have.
I believe they have, yes.
Or at least pseudo time. They all have a couple extra minutes because we move them over to the feature match area and stuff.
So Jeff looks like he has a spell, which is probably Merfolk to tap something.
Yep,
Curse Catcher taps 1 down.
All right, and that
now AJ would have to have 2 spells here in order to not die if he just attacks with everything.
Yeah, I expect Jeff to serve with everything, or at least he just should just serve with everything. He's playing super conservatively for no reason. Like if AJ had another rule spell, he would have used it last turn.
Right. Yeah, it looks like he's finally willing to go for it. They do have 4 extra minutes, but it doesn't look like they're going to need them. Everything comes in, and there's the handshake. So Jeff Sirkis wins the match 2 games to 1 with his Merfolk deck against AJ Sacher's Natural Order Bant deck.
Yep. Interesting.